Hey, welcome back to Squid Talks. This is episode 2, so an actual welcome back this time, as opposed to last time. Today, we're going to be talking about Star Wars, and I am joined with my friend William today. Hello, Will. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty groovy. Um, so if you want to, I guess, introduce yourself to the audience and whatnot, you go for it.
Alrighty, well, hello everyone. As he said, my name is Will. I've been a fan of Star Wars since I was about 5 years old. I also went to college with my friend here, and we finally have the time to sit down and actually geek over tons of content with something we really enjoy. And oh, this is gonna be a long podcast if I start going on a tangent.
I'll keep us both on track with stuff. So,
Okay, yeah, yeah, you're in charge. You rolled the chains here.
exactly. So, with today, we have a list of things that we're going to go over with Star Wars related stuff. So, first up on the list, if I can scroll over to there, is basically our first introductions. Would you like me to go first, Will, or you?
You can go first.
Alrighty. So, back in Pennsylvania, uh, I remember when I was a wee lad. I was born in '96, so it was like the start of the second movie was coming out, and um, whenever I first started seeing like toys and figures and stuff like that around, and I was like, oh, this looks kind of interesting. This is definitely something. And I was like, whatever. But and then I remember at some point during Thanksgiving, maybe like the year or two after, however long after it was, my cousin came over with Lego Star Wars. And I remember seeing like bits and pieces of stuff before, but I played it with him, and I had a phenomenal time with the game. So much so that I was like, "Oh my god, this is great! I want to see what the movies are like." So that's when I my dad got me the original collection, the original trilogy rather, on DVD. And yeah, no, I watched a little. I watched them. They're fun. And overall, it's just like a really fun time. And then from there forward, I I slowly got into Star Wars in some way. My first like actual Star Wars, I guess like big thing that I got was the Lego Star Wars 2 for PSP. So I got that one. I played through it. Had a really good time with it. Know those levels pretty well like the back of my hand because I played them so much. Uh, and then at some point, whenever I moved down here to North Carolina, I was like, oh wow, this is they had like the complete saga or something like that, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I got into there. I also got into other Lego games as time went on, but I specifically know more about Star Wars back then through the Lego games than definitely the movies because little young me didn't really understand things at the time. But of course, as time went on, I watched all the movies, found enjoyment in them. Uh, the funny thing, which was something I was yesterday, me and Will were going over what we are going to talk about today, and something I specifically didn't mention to him because I wanted to tell him today was my first experience watching The Force Awakens. So I went to uh, back in like December of 2015, whenever it was first airing. I went to the theater with we had tickets to go to the theater with my brother. It was an IMAX theater, and we were really excited and everything. We went to Moe's a little bit beforehand, had some dinner, went over there, watched the show, watched the movie, had a phenomenal time with the movie. Thought it was really fun, and I was like, hey, this is a really good time, enjoyable. I went home that night, and then all of a sudden, I remember waking up at like 3 a.m. going, wait a minute, something's wrong. And all of a sudden I just remember being like, oh god, running to the toilet and having to like I had food poisoning from those. But it's
Oh
funny,
God.
right? It's funny though because the first thing my brother said is that the next day he goes, "Was Star Wars that bad?" And I was like, "No, it wasn't that bad. I promise." um, but it was just like one of those funny things. But I guess those are my first little bit of introduction to the series. Of course, I played games and I did everything throughout, but obviously we'll talk more about that as the time goes on. So,
Mhm.
but on well, that's my end. What about you, Will?
I got introduced to Star Wars from my dad. who I was playing some game on the PS1 at the time, and my dad's like, "Hey, I'm gonna sit down and rewatch some of these old movies. You want to watch it with me?" And I'm like, "Well, what are they?" He said, "Star Wars," and I'm like, "Don't even know what that is." Okay, sure, I'll watch it. So he pops in the VHS tape. Yes, I said VHS tape. You heard that correct. This is the '90s still, people. And he puts in Star Wars Episode 4. Watch it all the way through, and he's like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "That was stupid. I hated it. Like, I full on hated Episode 4. I did not understand it. I did not like it. La la la." Well, about that time, that's when Episode 1, I started seeing the toys for Episode 1, like Darth Maul, Jar Jar Binks, Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I could go on. And I'm like, maybe this is Episode 1, but my dad, you showed me Episode 4. Like, what's going on here? He's like, "Oh, no. There's 4, 5, and 6. They named it 4, 5, and 6 because they're going back at that time, and they're making the prequel trilogy to explain what happened in the events before Episode 4, 5, and 6." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's cool. That's cool." So I saw Episode 1. I liked it because my 5-year-old brain is like, "Oh, lightsabers, battles, all that stuff." So that's what I was really drawn to. I didn't like any of the political moments in any of the Episode 1 at that time because, like I said, 5-year-old, I have a short attention span. So I went back, watched Episode 4, ended up liking Episode 4 at that time. I'm like, okay, there's something here. Watched Episode 5, loved Episode 5. Binge watched the next one, Episode 6, liked Episode 6. I'm like, okay, so that wraps in a nice little bow. The Empire is defeated, the heroes are save the galaxy. All right, and Episode 2 and 3 hadn't even come out yet. So I'm like, okay, there's a little bit of storytelling left to go here. So rewatched Episode 1, and by the time I went through 4, 5, and 6 and 1, it was, I want to say, mid 2001, something like that.
Sure.
And this is when the trailer for Episode 2 started rolling out. And I saw the trailer with a Jango Fett. I'm like, "Oh, dude, he looks amazing. He looks sick." So I'm like, "Yep, gonna go to theater, gonna watch it. I know I'm gonna like it." And then went there. I actually really enjoyed it because I started seeing this kid in Episode 1 grow up, and I guess I saw things differently back then as Episode 2 because people were like, "Oh my god, the romance is so cringe." But I'm looking at the Jedi Order versus Anakin, like, well, he would be very cringy because he has, by that point, 10 years being told, "You're a Jedi, you can't have any attachments, you can't show any emotion." So for 10 years, he has not talked to anyone in any affectionate way, like true affection. So he has no way how to properly channel it or express himself that way, right?
Yeah.
So of course it'll come off bad and cringy and like, ugh. Then Episode 2 rolled into, excuse me, let me backtrack. Episode 2, right after Episode 2, we had a little TV show called the Clone Wars micro series, which you can talk about that later. And then that rolled into Episode 3. Episode 3, I saw that with my dad. That was the 2005. That's what wrapped up the whole journey for me, was getting into that. And I'm like, I came from hating it to full 180, loving it and reading about it and learning more about it with my own time because I'm like, I just got head on heels into it.
Nice. No, I'm glad that you were able to enjoy through the series and everything else like that. That's pretty dope. Yeah. Well, cool. Hey, there you go. Well,
Yeah,
go.
I realized I went on a mighty tangent there.
Oh
I'm
no,
like,
no,
oh
no,
no, I gotta wrap.
no, no. You did your thing, of course. But I guess speaking of, what would you say? Uh, I guess actually, as far as introductions going a little bit more forward, just to blend in some lines. Um, with the well, I guess those were introductions. So that one. What about your introduction to the I guess I gave mine for the beginning of the sequel series. I mean, the sequel movies rather. So, what would you say your introduction to the sequel movies are?
Well, I remember waking up one day and finding out that a Disney bought Star Wars. So I'm like, Disney bought Star Wars?
Mm-hmm.
What happened in these 24-hour time period? And then literally the day after that, hey, we got Episode 7. The Force Awakens is coming out. I'm like, oh, they're continuing Star Wars. Like it was like all over Reddit, YouTube. One of my YouTubers I follow, the Angry Joe Show, like he was all into it. He's like doing interviews, um, Reddit threads, posts that I haven't seen on the Star Wars forum yet, and just explaining about what the thought process was for each of these characters and the continuation of George Lucas's vision at that time. So I'm
Right.
like, yep, day one, gonna be there.
Okay.
And day one, I was there.
Well, nice. Well, you see mine. I was I think I was drawn to the game, to it, the idea of it. And I just if it being like, hey, new Star Wars and everything, and I was like really excited for it. Um,
Mhm.
I would say that which will lead into the next thing, which is our favorites across the board. Um, I would say one of my favorite movies, as just like in general, I think would have to be probably episode. Actually, no. My favorite Star Wars movie, if you're talking about in the actual like main movies, is I would say three.
Right.
I really like three,
Hmm.
but overall, I think I would say Rogue One. I really like the way that they handled Rogue One, and it felt like it was one of those that it felt like a movie that they took chances on and tried to do different things with, and I really do appreciate it.
100% agree with that.
Yeah. Um.
Which,
Yeah.
while we're on the topic of Rogue One, I want to make a little comparison here.
Sure.
You remember in episode 4 when Vader gets on the Leia ship called the Tantive 4,
Yeah.
and she's like, Lord Vader, blah blah blah, and Vader says, "Where are the plans the rebels gave you?" And she says, "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm an Imperial Senate on a diplomatic mission to Alderaan." Where in Rogue One, he just saw that ship fly away like 30 seconds ago. So he's just looking at her like, I know you're. Why are you lying to me? I saw you 30 seconds ago. Come on.
That is really funny. Watching the end of Rogue One and how seamlessly it blends into Episode 4, I was like, that's pretty dope that they went through and did that. Um, no, yeah, no, I definitely see what you're saying on that one. But what about you though? What would you say your favorite movie is?
I would actually have to agree with you on that, but it was between Episode 3 and Rogue One because I am a huge, in the Star Wars terms, imperialist. I love the Empire, like lore, faction, just the way the whole hierarchy works. And I can go to a whole nother tangent of why the Empire is kind of better for the galaxy than people want to lead on, but that's a whole nother topic for discussion.
I mean, yeah, sure,
But when
no, no,
and
good.
I don't know, everyone loves a good villain, and Ian McDiarmid having fun playing Palpatine, aka Darth Sidious, and him just he's like the Mark Hamill of Star Wars. He has fun with his role, and he dedicates 110% into that role. In Episode 3, it shows he's having fun with it. He's Sidious won in Episode 3. He won, and he's letting the whole galaxy know, hey, I won. The Jedi are no more. Which is he's the entire half of the movie. He's cackling and laughing and having fun.
It's funny because you're like, oh, it's the Mark Hamill of Star Wars. It's like, Mark Hamill is in Star Wars.
Oh shit, that's right. Damn it. Well, okay. But let me
No, no,
rephrase it.
I understand. I understand what you're
The,
saying. He's having a really good time with
the
the
Mark
movie.
Hamill of the prequel series. There we go. I'll rephrase it.
Okay, Mark Hamill of anything Batman.
Yes.
No, I see what you're saying though, but it's funny, but yeah, no, I definitely see that. When it comes to like actors and everything, he definitely felt like he was giving it his all, and like I thought that was really
Mhm.
dope. But yeah, so no, I totally got you on that one. With just to pull up my notes again. Yeah, yeah. So we had the movie. What about just in general? What's your favorite character?
Favorite character overall would be, like I said before, he works for the Empire. His name is Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Okay.
He is he first appeared in the early 1990s book series Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn.
Oh, the blue guy.
He yeah, the blue guy. He was recently mentioned Spoiler alert here. I don't. Never mind.
Sure. Oh yeah, by the way,
Uh,
from here on out, we're going to talk about majority of spoiler stuff. The only thing we're not going to talk about, as far as spoilers, that I requested from Will was Jedi Fallen Order. So other than that, just expect that this is a whole spoiler zone. So go ahead.
Alrighty. Grand Admiral Thrawn was recently mentioned in the episode 5, season 2 of The Mandalorian,
Hmm.
which was a huge name drop because he was canon in the early 2000s with the book series and the comics and some in a few games. A Empire at War for a PC at that time. Well, when Disney bought Star Wars, they said if it's not in the movies or the Clone Wars, it doesn't exist at that because they were like so. Thrawn went from canon to Legends material, and a lot of fans were upset about that at the time because he was a very, very, very good villain for Luke, Han, and Leia in the Heir to the Empire book series because he pretty much took over the Empire, reformed it, and made it more formidable than what it once was. Because he was a military strategist, he understood how the rebels played their game, and he was able how to like coerce them into playing his. He played it like chess, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then in season 3 of Star Wars Rebels, the reveal trailer showed Thrawn, which made him canon again. From Dave Filoni, love him for that.
Nice.
And they actually had Timothy Zahn, his character creator, on scene, um, overlooking every step they took for his character to make sure that the Star Wars Rebels version is as identical as the book version as Thrawn as they could possibly get from words on a page to visuals on a screen.
Okay.
And I love him. He's absolutely amazing. He breaks down everything almost to a T, which some people could say like, oh, he's kind of like quote unquote God moded, but he's really not because when he does something really cool, he has in the books he has like 2 chapters worth of figuring things out if you read it, and in Rebels he has 2 or 3 episodes before he figures something out and then he plans accordingly. And he's a very well designed and overall round character.
Nice.
And one of the few people, maybe 1 out of 5 people out of the galaxy that knows Darth Vader is Anakin, and he even taunts Darth Vader about it. Like,
Huh.
hey, I know who you are. Like, kind of like low key, but I'm not gonna say anything. You're not gonna tell me it's fine.
That's really funny.
Yeah, he kind of makes Palpatine feel kind of stupid because he literally like he doesn't say this verbatim, but he's kind of like Anakin disappears, Darth Vader shows up the next day. What's
Yeah.
going on there, Palpatine?
Right. No, I totally understand what you're saying. Um, for me, like, I can say like as far as like design looks, I really love General Grievous. I love his design. I've been a huge
Oh
fan
yeah.
ever since I first saw him. Um, in fact, actually, uh, yesterday I recorded my second review, which is reviewing the model kit of General Grievous, which actually looks like this. Um, I, uh, I did, however, obviously by the time this video goes up, that review will already be out. So what do you think of that review? No, I'm joking. Um, but yeah, no, I really love the design of General Grievous. I was always a fan. I spelled General wrong. Um,
It's fine. Google knew what you meant.
oh yeah, exactly. Um, I all in all, like it was just an interesting thing of like this, like 99.9% drone with a little bit of of organic life in him. But
Mhm.
I fell in love with this character very
The
quickly.
the concept artist actually designed General Grievous. He actually the first stage of General Grievous, he actually got the full design from a spray bottle,
You know what? I
and
can kind of see it.
yeah, he got it from a spray bottle. And George Lucas really liked that early concept of like full metal, and then George is like creating this character more. He's like, I want General Grievous to be an echo of Anakin. Grievous is an alien in a robotic shell, which is an echo of what Anakin's going to become when he becomes Darth Vader, right?
Yeah.
So he wanted General Grievous to have some animalistic traits in his facial features at that time, or body, or whatever the concept artist wanted to do. So that's when the concept artist went back and then gave him those menacing eyes and that overhunched um, stance, and pretty much made him like a kind of like robotically organic, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. And his first appearance wasn't even on screen or in a comic book. It was in the 2003 uh, cartoon series, micro series of the Clone Wars, which each episode was only 5 minutes.
Yeah. It was this
Because
version of him.
yep, and I sent you. Yeah, have you seen that? Have you seen that Clone Wars at all by chance?
I seen a bit of clips from there. I saw this entire fight sequence where he just destroys all of those Jedi.
Yeah, he's very powerful in the 2003 series,
Yeah. And
and and depends on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I wasn't gonna say anything further. Go ahead.
Oh, so and it depends on which you look at. If you look at Legends material or canon material, he chose to become from organic to cybernetic to keep up with Jedi. But in Legends material, he was shot down by Dooku, and as he was being put in his robotic body, Dooku told him, like, "Hey, the Jedi did this to you. Like, set it up to blame the Jedi," which is why Grievous hates the Jedi so much because they kind of like trapped him in that body. And in Canon's version, he hates the Jedi because he can never be one. He has the technical skill, but he doesn't have any Force connections, so he hates them out of jealousy, which is the early stages of the dark side.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And like this is perfect because like stuff like that, like I'm like, oh hey, cool. I didn't even know some of that, which is which is great on my end because I'm like, oh cool. But even so, like just I love. Sometimes you just really like a character for its design and it's the way that they move and everything, and like not to mention like just his like ideas and like just I don't know. He's just a really interesting character. But that was design wise. I had an actual favorite character and I forgot who it was. I remembered it while we were talking before, and I was like,
Oh
no,
no!
yeah, it happens. If you listen to the last podcast, something similar happened with trying to remember something about something else. I don't remember, but what was it? I was thinking. Okay, I was thinking about Boba Fett, and I was like, oh yeah, I like that he was in the Mandalorian, and then I thought about something from there, and then I said, oh, I'm an idiot. I would say that my favorite in general for like idea is not Wolf this Finn.
It's the fin that's gonna give you every fin. Yes,
Right?
yes.
I
I love Adventure Time.
right? I love the idea of Finn. I believe that I really liked his character and where it was going. Um yeah, Star Wars. There you go. I really liked this character and where it was
There
going.
we go.
I thoroughly enjoyed him here, and from what I've seen from like from there, like his personality and the character is nice. I just feel like he was extremely mistreated throughout after episode 7. So episode 8 and 9, I feel like he was very mistreated, and I feel like a lot of it has to play into the fact of him being a person of color and overseas. A lot of investors who are in like Asia and some of these other markets are not really in favor of anyone in color being like a main poster child. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely seemed. It seemed like episode 7 they had an idea for Finn and they were gonna stick with it. 8 and 9 it seems like he's kind of like all over the place. Like he's doing this, he's going over to that planet with that girl, and then episode 9 he's just screaming Ray for half an hour. He's not even doing anything at all.
All right. Yeah. Between that, but I will say, um, I specifically like him and Poe's chemistry they have together. I really like the character and the actor for Poe Dameron.
Yeah. Yeah, Poe was a really, really good character. Like he still had some of his elements and characteristics throughout episode 8 and 9, but I feel like he was also toned down a whole lot from what he was in episode 7 to make room for Rey.
Yeah. Like it sucks because if you look at that design where he has like the cool scarf and everything, he looks like a main hero, and I love that aesthetic for him too.
He looks like that image. He looks like Nathan Drake.
Yeah, it straight up looks like Nathan Drake right here. Wow, that is actually really shocking how close. But yeah, no, I really like the design for Poe, and I feel like both Poe and Finn got kind of treated not very great. But
Yeah, they were part of the crew that kind of got pushed down so Ray could be on a higher pedestal. But if you have a crew of characters, they all have to contribute to something, otherwise they all fall flat. And instead of being memorable characters, they're easily forgotten, like half the cast in episode 8 and 9.
yeah, and like with Ray, like some stuff that like there are some stuff with Ray where I'm just like, okay, yeah, you definitely stole those from some of these other character traits. But I think that Ray gets a lot of hate specifically from the fandom, um, and a lot of it comes based off of what I've seen. It's like, oh, this, and this, and like it's come down to like, um, I guess that kind of that's gonna lead into like the fandom and everything else like that. And we have a whole section for
Yeah.
that. I'll just leave that off because
Yeah, see, everything like branches off smoothly.
it does. Which I guess would be a perfect. I guess this would be a perfect kind of a good segue to start talking about. Um, just in general, George Lucas versus Disney. So like the first thing of it being George Lucas's films, and well, he had an idea for the original trilogy, worked
Hmm.
through, did its stuff, and then he made his prequel trilogy. And although it didn't go as necessarily good for the fans, and it was made for kids, it was kind of made for our target audience when we were younger, and I feel like that's something that and I feel like that is something that's what you call it isn't they're like, oh wow, I don't know, it goes to a whole thing. But either way, um just in general with that and how Disney basically screwed him over and all that
Hmm.
jazz. And I know you have a lot more to talk about for that one, so go ham.
All right. So everyone knows George Lucas wrote a very, very fat script for Star Wars. Like it was very, very big. I'm starting at the very beginning before even episode 4 is a thing.
Okay.
He writes the script, and he's trying to get it approved, get it approved, get it approved. The studio is not having it. They're like, we don't want a space drama. No one's going to pay to watch that. Tell you what, direct a direct a movie for us, and if it does well, we see your potential. We'll greenlight it. We'll go ahead. It's like scratch my back, I scratch your back. So George Lucas went out and did a movie called American Graffiti with actually, funny enough, it actually had Harrison Ford in it as
Okay.
one of the characters. Movie did very, very well. Got greenlit for a Star Wars, and the studio's like, this is huge. George went back and revisited, and pretty much gave 1/3 of the script, which would become Episode 4. That got put in. Budget issues, recalling, recasting, even reshooting whole sections of the movie really, really, really delayed it. And they were filming all of, oh, no, not all of it, but I want to say 75% of episode 4 in England using the studio lots there, right?
Yeah.
And they back then they had a very, very constrictive limits on what they could do from a protocol in the lots. Like at when like 5 p.m. hits, you shut down, you go home. You can't. You can vote to get an extra 30 minutes, but then the board would always put George Lucas down.
Yeah.
So the movie it looked like Star Wars was never going to get made. And anyone listening knows I'm pretty much like paraphrasing just to get through this. Otherwise, this is going to be here for a while. Well, eventually, it goes back to America, and then the whole movie is completely re-edited to what you see now. There's about 45 minutes of scenes and shots cut for the movie to make it more streamlined, straightforward from point A to point B to point C to point D. Because it's episode 4 and its original is very, very, very campy. Nowhere near as good as it is in its final form. So then Star Wars finally releases. It's a big hit. George Lucas is like, "See, I told you people to watch this." Got greenlit automatically for episode 5. Episode 5, he goes in not as the director this time, but as the producer. Episode 6, producer, trilogy wraps up. Well, people are asking for more Star Wars in some context by this point. They got Heir to the Empire in the early 90s, and he started writing episode 1, I want to say in 93 or 94. I think it was 93.
Okay.
Got done with the rough draft of the script. 95 rolls around, production starts. Production ends, episode 1 comes out, and it doesn't live up to the hype that people put it at, because people see Star Wars like, oh my god, it's gonna be amazing. Which I think was also with one of the shortcomings. Of episode 1 was the fandom itself overhyped the movie a whole lot, because they're like, Star Wars, it's back, it's gonna be amazing, it's gonna be the best thing I've ever seen since I was a kid again. They didn't leave any room for error in the movie. They expected it to be perfect, which I'm not saying any movie is perfect by no means, but they wanted it to be a lot more than what it was supposed to be, I believe, which was the upcoming and early storytelling of innocent Anakin becoming the villainous Darth Vader.
Huh. Okay.
So that was all George's vision, and he in my opinion, he completed that vision with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then he didn't want to do it anymore. Mostly because I am putting a bit of the blame on the fandom here, because they kind of drove him away from doing it because of all the hate and critiques he got for the prequels for years and years and years.
Which is,
Like,
I hate when that happens, especially like just as an example for Justice League with the person who plays as Cyborg. Whenever they did whenever the original version was made, and the director switched, and him and the director had a falling out, it's like, okay, you want to get mad at the director for kind of ruining the movie and not doing okay. There's solid reasoning behind this one, but for Star Wars, not only did George Lucas have fun, had a good time, all the actors had a good time. The person who played Jar Jar Binks, he had a phenomenal time. And in fact, actually, I seen something recently where he was reacting to people's memes about Jar Jar Binks, because there's a bunch of memes going around where like people are simping over Jar Jar and like drawing him as all muscular and everything, and
wow.
like he's having a good time. He's like, hey, this is funny. Um, and my thing is, if people in the movie filming and working on it along with everything else, if they're having a decent time enjoying it, yeah, people who writing it are enjoying it, and it's not causing immediate harm in any way or trying to push anything negative, and it's just a fun movie, then call it a fun movie. Now, not to say it isn't deserving of some criticism here or there, but like the fans specifically for Star Wars, they hold the original trilogy so much in high value, and the majority of the time it's people who are like in their like 30s and 40s where they grew up on the original trilogy in some
Mm-hmm.
way. And I'm like, hey, other movies are allowed to exist, and if you look at the grand scheme of things, honestly, personally, when it comes to the original trilogy, I find more enjoyment in the prequels than the original trilogy, and that's it. I know that's a hot take.
He's like, okay, well, oh, he said the forbidden text. He said the prequels is better than the original. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Goodbye. No, bro, I really agree with that. Like,
Yeah.
like I said earlier, no movie is perfect, and episode 4, 5, and 6 are in that category. They are by no means perfect at all.
No.
Episode 4 has its issues. Episode 5 has its issues. Episode 6 definitely has its issues. Episode 1, 2, 3, same thing. They all have their issues.
Hmm. They do.
No movie is perfect, but if you like the movie, you take what you can get the enjoyment out of. Like episode one, two, and three, I personally think have the best content for memes. Like
Oh my god.
episode one, literally episode one, Qui-Gon says, Anakin, I want you to get to safety. And Anakin says, excuse me, sir, I don't want to be a problem. Episode two, episode three, Anakin becomes a big problem.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things is I love the beans so much, and in fact, actually, I did it for my General Grievous one, where the first thing I say whenever I start the review is, "Hello there."
General Trombone.
General Cannoli. Um, that was another thing. Back in Pennsylvania, I me and my brother found like Star Wars, but it was like with food in the grocery store, and like it had like the characters labeled as other characters. Like you had Obi-Wan cannoli, and you had yogurt, um, and like the death melon and stuff like that. It was like this really weird YouTube video. Um, I don't know. You know what? This is. Let's see if I can find this in any way. This will be a very interesting look. I don't know what's going on. I recommended, but this is all right, I guess. What was it?
It's YouTube. They recommend
Food,
absolutely anything and everything. It's YouTube.
Star Wars. Let me see. No. Oh wait. Grocery Store Wars. It was this.
Oh, I've seen this.
Yeah. God, I'm not gonna play the audio. I'm gonna actually mute it, but like, uh, yeah, no, this was one of those things that I remember way back when I was younger, and I remember bits and pieces of this thing. God, this was in 2006. Wow, that's
Yes,
like
you're old.
that's like
We're both old.
that's a lot of years ago.
Yeah, we're both old now.
Oh God, and it told through the entire stories of Star Wars too, if I'm not mistaken, which was funny. Oh
Hmm.
God, I loved it, but still, yeah.
But
Anyway,
one thing I will say about Star Wars, no matter how much episode one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine is criticized for, the formula for Star Wars storytelling is still being used over and over again for other movies, and people don't even realize it. For example, but my some people here might be butt hurt, but Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. Yeah, it's Harry Potter is just Star Wars with crappy lightsabers.
It's literally Star Wars, but on Earth. When you really think about it, it's taking the same beats, the same form of storytelling to tell a different story in the same direction as Star Wars. And without Star Wars, a lot of special effects companies wouldn't exist today because George put the money forward to get a lot of things done for that, which he ended up making a, a early time company, which become IMAX and all those other companies that use their CGI for movies now.
Yeah.
Like, what would the film industry be like now if George just decided to toss his Star Wars script away, not even try?
Oh yeah, exactly. And that's something that like we all think about too. Um, cause like in the grand scheme of things, like you just look at this little chart right here where it's like the comparison of like all like the whatchamacalls that's going
Hmm.
through. And like even just looking at that one, you realize even more connections than they're even laying out. I can't see it. I'm not gonna zoom in, but um, yeah, it's interesting how much Star Wars has had an influence across multiple movies, let alone the parodies and what have you of them too. But still,
The endless parodies.
right? I think one of the best ones that I've seen. I want to rewatch it. I haven't watched it in years, but I think it'd be fun. Is Spaceballs?
Oh, yep, that's a very popular parody.
Yeah. Um, I, I really hope this is gonna
Baseball's
be
movie. Put in movie.
okay. We're good enough.
Okay,
We're,
okay.
we're not even gonna scroll. We're not even gonna scroll.
Yeah, don't scroll, just leave it.
um, I remember seeing this movie, and the memes from this movie are already or were also like tremendously well done too. Um, but yeah, no. Let alone besides that, that was scary. But yeah, no. There's
Took,
that.
took, took a chance.
I did take a chance. But yeah, out of the movies, then the Clone Wars stuff started. The Clone Wars show started. There
So
you go.
show sharded. Whoa,
Yeah, all right. but
starting to sound like me.
but I definitely know that you probably have so with the Clone Wars, because this is something I don't know either. Uh, Whenever the show started, I'm assuming it was in George Lucas's hand before the Switch.
Yes,
Okay.
and Star Wars: The Clone Wars started in 2008, and it
Okay.
was under full. Oh, hit the wrong button on my Discord. Hold on. Technical difficulty. Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
Started in 2008. George and a small production team. It was in the room, in the writers' room. It was George heading the table with Dave Filoni as the second in command. Pretty much, Dave was there from the beginning. So Star Wars, Clone Wars went from a kid show on the weekends to being this grand phenomenon that the entire fan base can get behind and enjoy. Season one and parts of season two, good majority of the fan base that did like the prequels, they wanted nothing to do with the show. They're like, oh, this is just more pandering for the kids to sell toys. But season three, it got to the point in the war for the lore that things started darkening up and showing that the show can appeal to all types of audiences. And that's when people really started paying attention to the show. And then it almost got taken off Cartoon Network for a time because it was popular, yes, but it was also breaking a lot of protocols and rules Cartoon Network wanted for their shows.
Huh. Okay.
Which during that time, which is also why they were backing up their episodes on StarWars.com in case something was to happen. They'd be like, "Hey, just watch it online," you know.
Yeah.
And then, as the show went on, George started taking more and more of a back seat and letting Dave run the show. Like George was still giving ideas and stuff, but Dave was the one. Oh, my dog's barking.
You're all good.
But he was still giving ideas, and Dave was going on with the show. And it was actually George Lucas's daughter that came up with the idea to give Darth Maul a brother, Savage Opress. And Savage Opress was created by George's daughter. And then eventually the whole idea came around was, well, bring Darth Maul back too. And Dave was put with the idea of how to do that. And it worked out perfectly with how he did it.
Okay.
And then by this point in season four, Dave had full control of the show, and it became more of Dave's Star Wars than George's. Because at this time, this is when George was phasing himself out before finally selling Star Wars to Disney.
Okay. And like, it almost feels like the fans are one of the biggest reasons why he sold to Disney.
Oh, 100% agree. It
Yeah.
was the prequels ended in 2005. He was still getting hate in 2008 when the show started. He was still getting hate in 2010 when the show was at its highest point, and he was still getting hate the day before he sold to Disney. Then after episode 8, people want George back.
Yeah. I always find it funny because they don't realize because one of the things that I've noticed with eight, well, with not eight, rather Disney Star Wars when it comes to the movies of the numbered movies rather is they definitely they it seems like they didn't have a plan. Like with George Lucas, he had a plan from like, okay, hey, I'm gonna do three movies. I'm going to eventually build up to how this came to be. Versus, if I'm not mistaken, the original idea that Disney was getting three separate directors to direct each of the movies and kind of do their own thing with them. If I'm correct.
Hmm.
Okay. And like the first one for Force Awakens, it was fun. It was very safe and it was very similar to the other stuff, but it did have some interesting new elements, like how Finn was even though it was like his first day, he was still like in in the army. Um, what is it?
The
What's the
First Order.
Thank you. He was in the First Order, and him and Poe's meeting. I thought that was really cool. I liked the idea of Finn like, hey, I don't know if I can handle this lightsaber biz, and then like Rey getting it. I was like, okay, hey, Rey's a Jedi, cool. Like that's kind of groovy.
Hmm.
Let's see where this can go from here. And then from episode 8, it definitely felt a lot more of a. It felt a lot like weaker in some regards. My first big complaint, whenever I watched episode 8, was it felt really long. It was
Hmm. Yeah,
tremendously.
it was.
Yeah,
It was.
it felt really long. I like the idea of Luke kind of being an ass and not being okay with certain things because like with time and age and everything, and then like towards the end of the movie, he's like, okay, hey, I was a dick. Let me kind of get things situated. The one thing that kind of felt really weird was whenever before this movie released, um, Carrie Fisher passed away. And
Yes.
whenever she was flying out into space, I thought that was how they were gonna have her pass away.
Right. But then she used the Force and brought herself back in, which that's not how the Force works
Yeah,
at all.
if it was Luke doing that, that would make sense. And like,
Like not even Luke able to do that because like even Jedi are susceptible to the vacuum of space
yeah,
because the Force can only protect her for so long, and she was dead. She was frozen. She was cold. You don't wake up from that. You're done.
yeah, and like it's not to say that like oh no, it doesn't make sense because whatever. It's like no, it genuinely didn't make sense, and like of course Star Wars disbelief of everything. But I do vastly remember that in the Clone Wars, there was an episode where um, there were like a whole bunch of there were a whole bunch of clones that were trapped in space, and they were trying to rescue
Oh
them.
yeah,
Huh?
that was the beginning of the Malevolence arc where
Yeah,
they have Plo Koon and the Wolf Pack.
yeah, and like one of the things was like there was a Jedi with them where they was just like, hey, if this place opens up, we're gonna die.
Hmm.
um, and like yeah, yeah, it was just um it was just like it's like okay, hey, that didn't make sense, but hey, if you have other plans for her, cool. But I feel like um but yeah,
Yeah, episode 7. No one's really upset about it because they played it safe and they copy and pasted episode 4, which is fine because it's Disney's first take at a Star Wars movie. So they played it safe. They took a story that worked for episode 4 and just retold it for their first one, right?
yeah,
Um, from there, I feel like they gave it the Marvel treatment and tried to give it the Marvel type of storytelling, and it didn't work. Like episode 8, making Earth related jokes like, hello, can you hear me now? Cell phone distance. Like, it takes place in a galaxy far, far away. So, you making Earth related jokes and Earth related issues, it kind of pulls you out of that fantasy. You're like, what am I watching? Is this Star Wars? Like, what?
no, I get what you're saying. Um, yeah, and like I'd like to. I think one of the biggest things that I didn't like because like after I watched see, it's funny. I'll tell people that like a lot of times whenever I want to watch the movie again, but I don't want to watch an entire like 2.5 hour, 3 hour, however long any movie is, I'll end up going
Yeah.
to cinemas a lot of times, and I know it's just like oh, whatever. It's like I actually will get the gist of like oh hey this and these steps and everything, and like the way that I see cinemas is one of those is just like oh they're ripping apart the movie, but they also enjoyed the movie enough to rip it apart. You know what I mean? I mean maybe that's just me, but um, like so like I would I watched their video on the Last Jedi a few times, and one of the things that bugged me that is after seeing that and also seeing some other video essays on the movies and everything, Finn and Rose's journey after all the stuff that they did, it get invalidated. It's almost like then that whole thing was a waste. There was no reason to go there, you know?
Exactly. There was a lot of like retconning stuff in the movie as it was going. Like episode 9 even did it too. Like General Hux, like I am the spy. All right, now he gets killed. Like
Yeah,
okay, well that was like 30 seconds after he said I'm the spy. So there goes his character. Like it goes from that comes out of nowhere. There's no indication that he's a spy or anything before that moment. No
yeah,
build up
exactly.
to it. It's just like boom, it's there.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
exactly.
it doesn't come off as a shock value. To me, it doesn't come off as shock. It comes off as lazy. Like, oh, we want that wow factor. Just throw that in there. We're shooting this scene today. We'll figure it out later.
And you're talking about sorry, I completely forgot. You were talking about what scene again?
Episode 9 when General Hux saves Finn and Poe because he's
Oh
the
yeah,
quote
yeah,
unquote
yeah.
spy. Like, where did that come from?
Like that could have been interesting, but then they killed him off immediately, and I'm like, well then, okay. Like,
Yeah, it's like okay, he did that thing. Like I feel like they wrote themselves into a corner of Finn and Poe getting executed, and they didn't know how to write themselves out of it.
yeah, and like from what I saw from the Rise of Skywalker, the whole fetch quest thing with Rey's dagger actually wasn't tremendously horrible. As what is that noise? Huh? Someone there's a fire truck outside somewhere. But if you hear
Oh,
that in the audio, whatever. But
I can't hear it.
I mean that's fine. But when it came to like the dagger thing, it was like, oh, okay, that's kind of interesting. And like, even though it's just like, how whatever BS or whatever, I'm like, that one's actually kind of a fun thing. I don't know. That's like, it's interesting. It's weird, but like they in the apparently in the novel version when they're talking about that before the movie was released, it went into depth a little bit better about that, and it made more sense based off of
Mhm.
what I've heard about. And I was like, oh, okay, well then whatever. Like stuff like that. I'm like, okay, I don't care about that. That's they tried to do a weird thing. It sometimes work doesn't. That's not what it was. My thing with it was like, hey, Ray was extremely Ray being powerful. I think is fine. I don't see a thing in that. It
Yeah,
could
there's
just
no issue there.
yeah, especially like Ray being powerful and Ray having a lot of good traits when it comes to like, oh, being a pilot or some of this or that. It's like, all right, cool. But I don't know if you said it in today or yesterday, but she definitely took a lot of traits from well, at least her character stole a lot of traits from both Finn and Poe.
Hmm.
But whether it came, yeah, and it's just like, okay, that's kind of weird. And like with Rose, I thought Rose was a really cool character. I like she may not have been like absolutely perfect, but I thought it was like, okay, hey, we have a new addition to the gang. And then immediately next movie, because of all the oh, that's that's just an alarm on my laptop for something different. Don't worry about it. But immediately on the okay, yeah, no, I get that. You can't hear it, but I can hear it, and it's probably gonna come up on
Oh,
the
okay.
audio. It's fine. Um, but the yeah, no, with Rose, like with her getting tremendously harassed and bullied with death threats and everything online, for just multiple reasons across the board, and the injustice that she had from like the big, huge, toxic Star Wars people, which is like really, really, guys, that kind of blows. I I was genuinely interested in her character a little bit. I was like, oh hey, this is an interesting new character, and like she looks cool and whatnot. But like, no, of course, everything had to just yeah.
Yeah, if you have a problem with a movie, go after the people who well, don't even go after them, but state your concerns and your disapproval of it, like to the people who wrote it, not the people who are working for them, because they that doesn't do anything. The people who made the calls to make decisions for the movie, those are the ones you need to voice your concerns to.
Yeah, and like with the Last Jedi, there were definitely some really cool stuff in the Last Jedi. In like some little regards, like I like the way that Kylo Ren killed Snoke. I thought that was really cool. One of my favorite things is I better tell you if I type in Last Jedi best scene. Yeah, right here. The best scene across everything is this shot right here.
Hmm.
Just that beautiful shot, silent, nothing else. I was like, that's a really good shot.
Yes. See, I will give I'll give credit to any movie that's due. Episode 8 and 9 definitely had their moments that were definitely good in
Yeah.
terms of effects or a fight or a choreographed fight scene or something. They definitely had the moments. I'm not taking that away at all.
No,
Never
but
will.
the vast majority of it was like okay, like I feels like the Last Jedi maybe should have been broken apart between two movies, along with
Yeah.
scratching some stuff um I don't like they did some good stuff like the thing anything with Luke. I really liked what they did with Luke from beginning to end. I thought that that was fine. I thought it was fun.
My biggest issue I had with Luke in episode 8 was personally to me it didn't feel like Luke because he tried to off Kylo when he sensed Kylo was evil.
Yeah, yeah,
But
that I agree.
but in episode 5 and 6, he bent over backwards to try to save Darth Vader, who everyone in the galaxy is like, dude, you're an idiot. This guy can't be redeemed. And Luke's like, no, he can. He can. There's hope for everybody. And then he to do a 180 and like, nope, yeah, you had a bad thought. Yeet.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree on that end for that one. But I really liked how he handled the like how like the ghost like sending the ghost illusion of himself. I was like, all right, that's a little weird, but like, sure, force, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, they wanted Kylo and Luke to fight, but they didn't know how, so they created force projection.
Yeah, and like that being so taxing on him that that's how he passes away. I'm like, all right, that's cool, I guess. Um,
I
what
was like, all right, I'll accept it by this point. I guess I have no choice but to accept it.
my thing that I appreciate that they did in the Last Jedi was that they actually made Yoda a puppet.
Yes, that I did like. They went back to the roots a little bit here and made him a puppet. Yes.
Yeah, I think for the prequels, him being CG, I think that's fine. I think
Yeah,
that's totally
because
okay. But I think
considering what he had
specifically,
to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think specifically though for anything that came out afterwards, Puppet Yoda Ghost makes a lot more sense because that is like the because like that version of Yoda versus the prequel version of Yoda, they look different enough. So
Yeah,
like it's
much, and they're older.
yeah, well, like, he's older, but like 30
Yeah,
years to
experience.
Yoda isn't like that
Yeah,
much.
experience has changed them. Episode 1 Yoda is not the same as episode 6 Yoda.
Nah, um, no, not at all. But yeah, no, there's that. And yeah, I think all that is valid. But just going a little bit forward, we did a little bit of the show. One of my favorite things that I appreciate that Disney has done though is their treatment with the shows. Now I know there's only
Yes,
one big one out so far, which is The Mandalorian, but that's a phenomenal show that they
it
definitely took
is.
some really interesting beats on, and I like what they did with certain things in here. It is very Disney knows it's their top show now. They absolutely know it's like their number one show at the moment.
Yeah. Side note: another show directed by Dave Filoni with John Favreau. So that's another one under Dave's belt. So go ahead and give Star Wars full control to Dave, please, Disney. Thank you.
Is he the one who did, I was? Is he the one who did this one?
Yeah, Dave Filoni did this. He did the Clone Wars. He's doing the Bad Batch. He did Rebels.
Is
He
I thought it was now just because I'm dumb and don't remember names. I seen that it was. Is he happy from the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Is it that guy?
John Favreau.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's happy. Yeah, John Favreau is happy.
Okay, and that's the guy who because I seen him directing some Mandalorian.
Yep.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, he also directed the first Iron Man movie.
I find that hilarious that he does that sometimes. But
Yeah.
like with the show, they definitely did some interesting things. They did like they made you really because like up until this point, at least from a casual person as I am, I'm getting more out of casual for Star Wars, but in general, like, hey, bounty hunters are like the bad guys, and like I didn't even know about the Mandalorian, so like, okay, well that's Mandalorians, and then you find out like they're not the bad guys, and then you look more into it, you're like, but they're not the good guys. Like, they're definitely in this weird gray area where it's just morally correct, and then when you look at their morals and everything, like with Din, right? Is that his name in the show?
Yep.
Okay, with Din in the show, it's like, huh, you have pretty correct morals. Now, when it comes to like the whole like don't take it off your helmet or something. So it's like, all right, whatever. But um,
I would like to say that's actually like for his particular clan. That's not 100% Mandalorian thing. Don't take your helmet off because
yeah,
other Mandalorians do it all the time.
yeah, exactly. And I think that they definitely showed growth. Like they they did this really solid relationship, even though it was like a lot of episodes with like fetch quests here or there, or like side quests or
Is
whatever.
he was playing D&D in those first three episodes. Every time he completed a quest, he got an armor upgrade.
Essentially, I feel like from the beginning of the show to the end of the show, he definitely grew. And like one of the things that got me was when when apparently not Sebastian Stan went to go get Grogu. Um, he and when he took off his helmet for Grogu, I was like, this is really sweet. He wants his little kid to see because like that's his kid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Kid wants to see his dad.
Um, by the way, as just like a quick pause, I appreciate them getting Mark Hamill to voice for Luke and getting all that stuff situated and doing
Hmm.
and trying to make it look as possible. But also, I personally feel like they should have just got Sebastian Stan and have him do a young Luke Skywalker because he looks almost identical to young Luke Skywalker. Like it is like say
Yeah,
that.
like Sebastian Stan has even said, he's like, if Mark Hamill ever gives me the go ahead, I'll do it in a heartbeat. And Mark Hamill has said on Twitter multiple times, yes, use Sebastian Stan in all caps.
Like look at the two of them. That is really close.
That's like scary close.
Yeah, and like if you took a little bit from like if you now of course you can't just do copy and paste immediately. You have to do some makeup stuff with that, sure.
Obviously.
But like even like in your standard stuff, like you can kind of see. Yeah, it's just really really funny. I know that that's partially photoshopped on that picture, but in general he does look like him in
Hmm.
some way. Maybe a little bit more beefier, but like I feel like that would have been a nice like, oh hey, they got Sebastian Stan to be young Luke versus oh it's a CGI face and it's distracting from the scene. Which I'm surprised you didn't pick up on it when it first aired and I talked about it. You're like, wait, that wasn't Sebastian Stan. I was like, no. um,
Yep. I'm just really happy because I'm a huge Mandalorian lore fanatic.
oh, and that
And
last bit was an amazing scene. So I mean, all things considered,
yes, 1,000%. And we get Boba Fett too. Yes, yes,
I
yes,
am
yes, yes,
severely
yes, yes.
happy that Boba Fett, like that they got
More
uh
Morrison.
what's his name?
Tim Morrison.
I was just gonna type Boba Fett.
Yeah, he's the actor for Boba Fett. Oh no,
Uh,
Jango Fett. Come back for Boba Fett.
yeah, I really like this character design and everything for him. Him being older, bald, scarred up, it makes sense, and him not being in shape also kind of makes sense. Like I like that he has a little bit of a gut. I'm like, hey, cool, awesome. He's not like super skinny, um, and like I always seen it as like that's a perfect thing, and then not to mention, of course, he's also the face model and everything for the clones, obviously.
Hmm.
But not to mention, I didn't even realize he was Polynesian up until they started until I saw some behind the scenes of this episode, and he was
Yeah, he is.
and he was saying how like his fighting style with the stick, he wanted to pull in some Polynesian stuff and whatnot, and like the way he was talking and everything, I was like, wait a minute, hold on a second, they got someone of color to do this. This is dope, and like I didn't even realize that for so long, and like little young me didn't even realize that. I was like, oh my god, duh, of course he is. Um, and like obviously younger him looks like tremendous. He looks gorgeous. Um, but still, it's just like wow.
He's just a from his behind the scenes episode too. He's like they got a skinny man from New Zealand to do this. Let's see how this goes.
And
And
like
he's
looking at him now, I'm like, how did I not see that this guy was something? You know what I mean?
he's always ready to do Jango Fett stuff, Boba Fett stuff, clone stuff, like you name it. Like he was like they're remake not only remaking, but they're remastering the Republic Commando Star Wars game,
Okay.
which he voiced the clones for that game. And funny enough, it was the game that his son got addicted to and wouldn't do his homework because he wanted to keep playing the game.
That's funny. Yeah, no, that is hilarious. But But yeah, I,
And
I just I
oh,
just I just find it all through thoroughly interesting. But yeah, go ahead.
oh yeah, and the for those that may or may not know, Mandalorians were based on the Spartans, as you can tell by their helmet design,
Okay.
and a lot of their lore takes inspiration from it too. Like one of the reasons why Mandalorians hate the Republic is because thousands of years ago, the original people lived on Coruscant before settlers arrived on Coruscant, pushed them out, and then those people that got pushed out went to Mandalore, that planet that would become Mandalore, and pretty much evolved into this newer warrior type culture, keeping to the roots of these guys drove us out. We're gonna show them that we're better now, like that constant like back and forth rivalry. And the Mandalorians got really high tech advanced. Like the Mandalorians is the U.S. military in 2020, right? When they
Yep.
first attacked the Republic army was about like the American Revolution type arms against the Mandalorians. So you can imagine how that went for the Republic.
Yeah.
Not well. And let's see if you know this. Did you know the Mandalorians is one of the only cultures to actually use not just blaster bolts but actual bullets?
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm thinking about that now. That makes sense.
because if a Jedi was to block a bullet, it would turn to shrapnel and land in their face.
Huh. You know what? That I guess is pretty smart.
Mandalorians are effective. They're effective.
Hey, the that armor is pretty impressive too. So, but no, I think they're doing great with the show, and I'm excited to see the is the Ahsoka show airing this year or next year?
I think it's early next year, I believe.
Okay, Book of Boba is doing this year, right?
Yes, at the end of this year.
Okay, yeah, I'm excited for some of the shows that were announced. I think they're going to be really fun. Um, I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do. I know Bad Batch is coming May 4th. Really interesting date
Yep,
for that
I'm
one.
so excited for that.
I want to try and see if I can finish the Clone Wars before I get there. I'll do my
Yeah, they're
best.
bringing Ian McDermott back to do some lines for Palpatine, and also using some Episode 3 audio for some other scenes. Because in the trailer, it shows Bad Batch watching Palpatine's speech of this will be the Empire that's taken out of Episode 3.
Oh, okay. No, I got you. That's that is pretty cool. But yeah, in general, I'm excited about that one. And other stuff going forward. And well, yeah, that's that. Just to kind of truck this all along a little bit. Because after this topic, the next topic is a big one. So we'll just touch on this one, which is we kind of been talking about already, which is just like the fan base.
Mhm.
I've noticed that a lot of now this isn't to like kind of put like any kind of stereotypes or anything, but I've noticed that a tremendous amount of people who are Star Wars fan who are either part of the LGBT community or allies in there are very open-minded about Star Wars and the series. I've just noticed that in general, and whether that be on like on TikTok or some of these other places, I'm like I follow a bunch of like interesting creators who do like a bunch of Star Wars stuff, and I'm like, huh, a lot of them are definitely like are heavy left leaning and more open to the ideas of Star Wars, which I think is really interesting. But
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
no, that was it on my. I was go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was saying, yeah, when it comes to Star Wars, it has a lot of properties that bring people from different mindsets together. Like,
Yeah,
may not agree on other things, but when it comes to Star Wars, about 90% everyone can agree on, like, yeah, Star Wars is awesome.
like and that's something that I think is really cool. Um, Not to mention like I noticed that people who enjoyed the prequels are ones that are like, hey, yeah, Star Wars are like you have like your cosplayers who are really good at stuff. I've been looking at myself into possibly getting some sort of saber. I was looking at some like other companies and seeing whatnot. Something that
Hmm.
I would really love to get is Um, God, what's the name of it? it's a saber where there is LEDs throughout it instead of at the base, so you can get like some nice effects, like the rainbow effects or breathing effects or whatnot.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it
Um,
actually looks like it actually like turns on and turns off
yeah,
correctly with still sound effects of like you hitting the saber, etc.
yeah, and like those things are basically military grade, so you can kind of whack people with them, and they're sturdy as hell.
Yeah, they hurt if you get hit.
Um, hold on, just because I need to know this one. Sabers. Let me just Sure, I was probably here before. Yeah, like it's like stuff like this. They have some really really good stuff. I just want to know what the name of what I'm just trying to remember the name of it because it's gonna drive me nuts. I'll just shop now. I don't have anything. Um, electronics. Um, veteran. Neopixel. That's the one.
There you go. We figured it out.
All right. Oh, God. I was like, what the hell's the name of the lightsaber? But yeah, I really love NeoPixels. I don't know. I was typing. I'll hit community, see what comes up. Okay, sure. But like that, I really like the merch. Something that bothers me as someone who wants to get into Star Wars and wants to collect some of the stuff. I wanted a Mandalorian figure. I'm gonna show you something. SH Figure Arts. Um, Mandalorian SH Figure Arts. There's this beautiful line of figures called SH Figure Arts.
Hmm.
I love the line and everything that they do.
Hmm.
Oh my god, you like this is absurdly expensive.
Yeah, they do really, really good toys though.
Well, here's the thing: when this toy first came out, he was $120, and I would have picked him up for $120. But over time, his price scales up so bad, and he was 50. And
Yep, Star Wars merchandise goes up. It never Star Wars merchandise never degrades. I have a card game series from the first movie, Episode 1,
yeah,
still in the package, unsealed, and I got that in like '98. Still sitting on the shelf.
yeah, exactly. And it's yeah, Star Wars merchandising is something that sucks, but I am happy about this one. Big Bad. Going back to that one again. I was really happy to see that I was able to get my hands on a pre-order for a Mandalorian, a Mandalorian figure. I'll show you what this one was. It's of okay, fine. I was able to get my hands on a pre-order for this one. $24.
That's still that's still a good figure.
Oh yeah, this is a fine figure. I just as someone who does tour reviews and everything, I really like the stuff that are posability and goes above and beyond. But
Hmm.
I will say something that I have always noticed very quickly is that just because something is expensive doesn't mean it's good. Versus just because something is cheap doesn't mean that it's bad quality. Case in point, one of my favorite figures that I got recently last year for Christmas is my Legends Venom. Let me see if I can
Hmm.
pull that up real quick. Just to Legends Venom. Yeah, this one right here. I guess there's another wave coming out. This is one of my favorite figures. He's big. He comes with two extra hands, so open or closed, and then closed mouth. He is very posable and he's a lot of fun, and I rather have him than a lot of these like very expensive figures. And this is someone who collects very expensive figures, so sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean pricing, which I think is interesting. By the way, Big Bad Toy Store, maybe if you sponsor me, that'd be cool. Anyway, um,
Moving on.
yeah, moving on. Right, either Big Bad or Happy Lake Japan, but Big Bad would be nice. But still,
Officially, unofficially sponsored.
right? Official. Listen, I'll talk about you all day long. I already have close to 14,000 on TikTok. I have an audience. It's slowly growing again. Anyway, moving on though. They'll probably never see this, but um, yeah, no, I like a lot of like the merchandising, the stuff like that is really really fun. One of my favorite things is the Legos. And because I'm want to talk about just the Legos and not the video game, because that's a whole nother subject. Star Wars Lego, like anything with like the Lego sets in Star Wars, is something that is mind blowing. Just to pull up a site that I use called Brick Owl. If you go and look at their category for Star Wars stuff in general, you go to sets, and you can go to quote unquote Star Wars. They have everything cataloged here. I can tell you more about this later. They have
Mm-hmm.
1,049 Star Wars sets.
Yup.
That's how many sets there has been released so far. That is a tremendous amount of sets, and the quality of them are pretty good. Some of it gets
Yeah,
repeated, but still.
yes, some of those sets are very like the Superstar Destroyer. It takes two people to hold it.
Yeah, that is a chunky boy. It's why these minifigures aren't even to scale. Um,
They're really not.
but
That's a huge thing. My buddy has it, and putting it on the stand, it takes two people.
yeah, and this thing was released in
If
11.
if if you don't want to get swords putting it up there yourself, it takes two people safely.
Yeah, and it's just like wow, like it's one of those wow, and like so, and like look how now this is like this site is one that like people can sell their old Lego stuff on or like new or sealed or
Mhm.
whatever. What's great about the site is you can actually hit view inventory and you can go and piece out the set individually if you needed to. And you can remove and add pieces. So let's say you didn't want any minifigures across the board. You can kind of just knock those out and get the price to be lower, and you can buy it from different sellers and manufacturers instead. Which I'm like, oh, okay, that's
Uh-huh.
actually pretty dope. But nevertheless, which obviously, if you look at the like, hey, 535 for used condition stuff, although it's expensive, it's a lot better than 1,000. Um,
Yeah.
but I've went through this site multiple times. I got minifigures off of this site and other sites as well. I have this sitting in my closet unopened. This set right here. Um,
The Mandalorian fighter.
yeah, my mom got it way whenever it was first released. We got it for like $35, and mom goes, "I'm gonna hold on to this." I said, "Okay." And I'm looking at the price now. I'm like, "Damn, the thing is growing in price." And I'm like, "Hey, just let it grow." Um, but still, it's like you see some of these sets and they do phenomenal jobs. I got this set specifically whenever it first came out, and it's one of my favorites. It sits on my shelf in the other room. I love this one. I have on my shelf over on the side. I have like right now I'm looking at Millennium Falcon, a Slave One, an X-wing, Darth Maul's fighter. Darth Maul, it's like Sith Infiltrator or something. I don't know what it's called. Um,
Sith infiltrator.
that's the one. And then next to that is the little like manta ray looking thingy from the first episode. It's like blue.
Oh yeah, I
It's
know
in
what
the
you're talking
water.
about.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
one, the one Jar Jar, Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan took. Yeah.
yeah. And I also have Yoda's hut from the 2004 set. Specifically, I'm very proud of this hut. Let's just type in X-wing. Wing. And you can get individual minifigures and everything here too, which is great. I have. Hold on a second. It shouldn't be that hard to find. This. So I was gonna kind of. I was gonna kind of.
Yeah, I have that one too.
Oh, you have this one? Dope.
Yeah.
I lost the X-wing. I lost pieces of it, and I can't really rebuild it. But I'm guessing it's like, oh wow, really good here. This set right here for Yoda, I have this one on the shelf. I fixed up all the pieces that were broken from over the years, and I made it look basically as new as I can. It's one of my favorite pieces. It's my favorite little section of a set. But I don't know. I really enjoyed that, and I really think that Star Wars in general has a fantastic merchandising. Has fantastic merchandising, but they could do a little bit better quality control in some regards, and like kind of a little bit more inclusive. Like I don't need 3,000 Darth Vaders, but there is not a single high quality Poe figure or a Finn figure, and that drives me nuts.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, the best one I found was like the very beginning of the Star Wars Black Series figures where they looked awful, and I'm like, and like they have like no paint on the face at all. It's just like the eyes, and the eyes are pure white. Which, if you know anything about eyes, they're not really pure white, and that doesn't look good. Um, better figures down the line. They got better with their stuff, but I'm like, it'd be nice to have like higher quality versions of these figures, but whatever. But
Yep.
yeah. Not to mention with I'm still upset that they still don't have a nice quality Vision that is not $300 from Hot Toys. But that's a whole nother conversation for another day.
Yeah, that's a whole nother one.
Mm.
That's the thing with Star Wars. You can have conversation on conversation on conversation for like multiple episodes of this.
Well, you really can. And in the future, I do want to bring you on for a Lego Star Wars one whenever like May the 4th comes in that area. I have enough Star Wars stuff to do another Star Wars week there. I might actually do a Lego Star Wars week and talk about Lego set or something like that on TikTok and there back and forth. But that's besides the point. But still, no. Let me make sure that everything's still good. Yeah. Okay. So, just as the last thing I want to talk about, last big thing is the video games. Um, we talked about some other stuff throughout, and I think one of the things that is very very fun is the video games. Just across the board, I think that they've done a phenomenal job with the video games to going further with stuff. Uh, Fallen Order over here was an amazing one. One that I wish that we could see some sort of connection again is The Force Unleashed. I really liked that game growing up. Um, yeah, what's your experience with the games?
Yeah, about the same one. My very first Star Wars game was actually the very first Battlefront from 2004,
Okay.
and I played that game to death. It was Galactic Conquest over and over and over, and episode and Lego Star Wars actually told me what happened in episode 3 before it came out because they had the level 3 chapter.
Oh wait,
So I
the
played it.
game
And I
came
was
out
like,
before the movie.
"Yep,
Oh my god,
yep,
that's dangerous.
yep." Same thing with Star Wars Battlefront 2, released before the movie, and on the back of the game it says play the memorable battles from the newest movie, Episode 3, and the game. If you got the Day One edition, it came with tickets to go see the movie.
That's cool.
Yeah, a lot of games back then did that. This is off the Star Wars topic, but there was a movie called Zathura,
Yep.
which was Space Jumanji. That game released 2 months before the movie, and it came with movie tickets. I still have the movie tickets with my game copy.
Nice.
Like a lot of games did that back then. I don't know why. And as a 4 or 5 year old, it didn't bother me. But now it really does bother me, and I'm glad we've kind of moved away from that because I don't want to get spoiled on things. I'm playing a game.
Oh yeah, exactly. And like that's something where I'm like, I'm glad that all things considered, all that was fixed and whatnot. Um, but with the Lego games, Lego Star Wars is what got me into a lot of. Oh, I definitely put my hand on the mic. Lego Star Wars.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I got quiet.
Lego Star Wars definitely got me into the Lego games and like the franchise a lot more, and I'm thoroughly excited to play the game. It got delayed a few times already. Everyone's waiting on it. One of the things I'm really interested in is that they're able to take some liberties and change to add a little bit more character development to anything in Episode 9. They were given permission to do that, so I'm really curious to see how they treat Finn. I think that could be really fun, and just
Yes.
some other stuff moving forward. I think I'm excited to see how things moving forward is gonna go, especially with the game because it looks like they're going above and beyond in this game. Considering that Lego games would release every like 8 months, and the last Lego game was in 2019, like middle, I believe, like
Hmm.
early middle. Um, yeah, I'm really excited to see what they've been working on because this one they're working on a new engine and they're working off of a lot of new ideas and concepts too. And I'm like, okay, like combat is actually a thing in here. So they're just spamming circle. There's like light and heavy attacks and combos, and I'm like, ooh,
One game I still play on and off was I sent you the link to was the MMO The Old Republic, which I still play that on and off nonstop, and that game has been up online for 10 years now. It's already been 10 years, and I remember watching the trailer for that game coming out like it was yesterday.
okay,
You get to choose either between the Empire or Republic. Each side gets 4 classes, and each of those classes get their own story and their own companions to go through. And my favorite one is the Sith Inquisitor because you get a double blade lightsaber. You get to go invisible because you have like it's like the assassin style uh, gameplay,
Yeah.
and that's the that's the only one I actually enjoy playing because I don't like being a good guy. I don't like. I tried to play the Republic classes. I'm just like, nah, being bad's more fun.
Nice.
And that trailer has Duel of the Fates in it, so it's automatic. It's automatically a 10 out of 10.
I that's something else as well as a little thing to go backwards. Uh Duel of the some of the music, 3,000 out of 10. I really like they even if it's just like oh it's whatever. I'm like listen, a lot of times for my TikToks, I'm grabbing music from Star
Yeah,
Wars. It's good.
yeah. Do you know why George called it Duel of the Fates?
Why?
Because whoever wins the fight on Naboo decides the fate of Anakin.
Huh. I get I guess that makes sense.
If Maul died and Qui Gon lived, Anakin would have turned out different. Qui Gon dies, Anakin turns out the way he does. Duel of the
Huh.
Fate, the
I
fate, the
actually didn't
fate
even
of
think
this
about that.
child.
I didn't even think about that if Qui-Gon was alive that things would be tremendously different for Anakin.
Hmm.
Um God.
The more you
I
know.
think one thing that would have made a little bit more sense is if they took Anakin Skywalker's character in the original and made him a teenager. I feel like that would have made a little bit more sense for story and continuity as far as like, hey, he's too old. Like I'm like he's 10 years old. What are you talking about too old? Or like
Yeah, the Jedi take kids from their parents when they're like a year.
which brings into the hey, Jedi's aren't really good people.
Yeah, they're doing kidnapping.
Yeah,
And like the Jedi are really a cult when you think about it, which is why I prefer the dark side because the Sith are about yes, the Sith are selfish, but at the same time, they're not tied down or constricted to cult style ideologies. They do their own thing. They make their own destiny, their own fate. They decide what they want to do. If they want to be bad, they're bad.
yeah. But you have to also be aware that a lot of the Sith are space fascists.
Yeah, but it's cool. It's really cool.
It's fiction, and I
And
understand.
yeah, and the Sith just have better fashion sense than Jedi. I'm sorry, but it's true. They have
You've
better
obviously
ships. They
you
they have
obviously
better.
haven't seen Obi-Wan Kenobi enough.
I have, but have you seen Darth Maul though? Have you seen, look up some of what the Sith were in the Old Republic era, and oh boy,
No, no, I definitely see what you're saying though. um, and yeah, you were tremendously from what I've been talking about, from what I remember from you and Lemon, you two were really big into the Old Republic at some point.
yeah, and he always gets mad at me because I'm always buying bigger and bigger things. Like I keep buying all the character strongholds, which one stronghold's on Yavin, and that thing is about like the entire stronghold is on top of a mountain, so you pretty much own the mountain. I'm like, hey, look what I got. This only cost me 5 million credits, and Lemon's like, I have five. Got to grind for that money.
Right? Oh god, that is hilarious. But yeah, I think the games have just been in general like really fun. It'd be nice if there was some way that they can include Starkiller, but I don't think they can really do that easily anymore. Um,
No, they really can't. Ever since the retconning of most of the stuff, it'd be really hard to bring it back. Like it can't be done, but it has to be done carefully.
yeah, because like it was a very interesting thing. I would love to see it, but yeah, it is what it is. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just think in general the games have definitely had a lot of has had a lot of just generalness of like pretty good positivity throughout. Like something that why I'm really interested is because the humor and everything for the Lego games, the Lego Holiday Special. It was a phenomenal special, and it definitely it gave Finn a lot more character development, and it was like a really fun time. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I would love to see this in the Lego game, and it looks like that's kind of what they're doing. I'm like, I'm excited for that. I don't know. I really like the Lego games.
I mean, yeah, we can't fault you. It's the Lego games; they're amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah. No, I guess there's that. Alrighty, just because of timing wise, I think now we can talk about the last topic, which is the future of Star Wars and what you think they should probably do in the future. So I'll let you start with that.
Right now, as it stands, Star Wars is the ideology of endless storytelling. But as it sits, they're filling in the gaps between episode one, two, three, four, five, and six, seven, eight, nine. Eventually, that's going to run out. And what I think Star Wars needs is to go to an area that no one has ever, like, majority of people haven't seen before, except for the semi-hardcore and full hardcore fans, which would be the Old Republic era,
Yeah.
because that is not 100 years worth of storytelling you do between one and nine, but 4,000 years of stories you could bring out from the Mandalorian Wars, the Jedi Civil War, the Sith Wars, the Second Sith Wars, the Hutt invasion. I could keep going on about the series you could knock out with this,
Yeah.
but I think that's the next big step for Star Wars is to visit the Old Republic.
Okay. I think that could be really good. I think something that can definitely benefit.
Another thing, along with the Old Republic, the creation of the Sith Rule too,
Okay.
from Darth Revan's ideology of proposing it to Darth Bane actually enforcing it, which Darth Bane, apprentice, that entire legacy ends with Sidious.
Yeah. I think something that should be taken into account. So like if I'm not mistaken, there's already a new trilogy announced for Star Wars. Um,
Yes.
I feel like what would be really smart is to, and it's all being directed by one guy, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that, but I think something that would be really smart is you have for the next trilogy, you maybe not focus so much on what you've done already, but work on stuff that is new. So let's
Okay.
say, um, like have it to where it's like yeah, it's taking place in the same universe, and like you may have like a cameo here or something like that or whatnot have you, but like have it focused on something else happening in the galaxy. Because like what they did with the Mandalorian, like I feel like that was really good. You had some characters there, but in general, it was a completely separate thing that had stuff tie in from the other movies to be like, hey, like it's part of this universe, but it's its own self. Like whenever I tell anyone, it's like, oh, you should watch Mandalorian. You're like, ah, but I haven't watched any Star Wars. I'm like, you don't got to. You just got to know the Force is a thing. The Death Star blew up. That's all you gotta really know, and that Yoda is a character. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, just watch it, you'll understand. And they watch it, and like, they're like, oh wow, this is a really good show. It's like, yeah, like I feel like that can be something. Like, although yes, definitely cater to the people who are hardcore fans, but like, I think that doing something new and going on a different pathway, whether it be like Rogue One. Rogue One, yes, it was definitely like obviously it was like the story of how they got the Death Star plans, but like that kind of storytelling was very different. And then the pathway and the story of Mandalorian felt different enough too. And I feel like if they just branched off and try to do something interesting and new, but like worthy of a movie, I feel like that can definitely bring things together and see Star Wars in a new light. But don't do it so close to back to each other because you don't want to do you don't want to create Star Wars fatigue. That kind of is
Hmm.
happening sometimes.
Yep.
Um, yeah, ooh, woo. But I'd say that that's kind of what I would have to say about that. So
I can agree. There is such thing as too much of a good thing, and if there's too much Star Wars being released, and people get sick of it, like I want something else.
yeah, exactly. But well, that's all I have to talk about. Is there anything you wanted to bring up too, or no?
No, we kind of touched on everything pretty well, I'd say.
Okay. Well, um, this has been episode two. Will, if you have anything you want to plug, as far as like socials, any of that jazz, go for it.
Not right now. Actually, I don't.
You don't have anything as far as like Twitters or YouTubes or any of that?
Nah, I don't have a YouTube or a Twitch. I have a Twitch. Oh, I have a Twitch channel that
Okay,
I game on
sure.
sometimes. Let me get that.
Yeah, send me a link real quick. I'll pull that up to the channel. I'll pull
I,
that up on the side.
I completely forgot I had that. Let me get that real quick. I haven't been busy with work. I haven't done it in like a month.
No, hey, you know what? You're totally fine. If you have that or that, either way, I'll make sure to put like the script, everything in the description of all this stuff, especially if you think of anything newer. Um, but I guess while you're doing that, I'll plug in my stuff, which is hi, my name is Squid. I am. If you want to find me on anything, the majority of sites, whether it be Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, any of that, you're gonna look for Ray of Kibo. So Ray of Kibo, Kibo spelled Kibo. Some stuff will be underscored, some stuff will be just all one word. Um, just check in the description for some of that stuff. And currently, right now, if you want to support me in any way, take a look at my link tree, and there's my Cash App and Venmo. And currently, we are raising funds to acquire Mayfex Gwenpool. Currently, right now, let me see if I can just pull this one up real quick. Mayfex Pool. Currently, right now, we are at um, 70. We need another 25, and then we can go ahead and purchase her and start reviewing her for the TikTok and YouTube. So just a little plug in there, but yeah. Anyway, though, that's all of my stuff. Will, did you find your things?
Yeah, I just sent you the link to it, and you can find me at twitch.tv/Renegade TV Live. I stream pretty much anything you can think of from GJRP to the latest shooters, definitely some Dark Souls content in there as well. And I stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the morning and at night.
Nice, nice.
And I got 120 followers and just got affiliated on Twitch too.
Oh, that's pretty dope. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
Nice. Well, thank you very much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Next week, as far as the topic for the podcast, I don't know what that topic will be. We'll get there when we get there. But with that being said, thank you for watching, and as always, stay colorful, Manklings.